Paltrocast.
Okay. My first question is a two-parter. I'm first going to say, how are you? And do I call you Doc? Is that good?
Be real, Doc, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all good.
Well, an honor and a pleasure. And we'll get into why I'm such a big fan later on. But first, let's talk about Dr. Greenthumb. Now, first, is that true? It's a Josie and the Pussycats reference?
What, Dr. Greenthumb?
Yes.
No. What it was is in the early 90s, my partner and I got into growing cannabis. I mean, we always consumed it and stuff like that. But because we were traveling to Europe and of course going to Amsterdam now and then, going into Holland.
Yeah.
My partner and I would grab seeds and bring them back, and sometimes we were just bringing them back, and we weren't doing anything with them. And one year we decided, hey, let's pop these seeds and let's see what happens. And as we're growing, we're growing it in my garage, and always, we always grew up with that phrase: if you were good in terms of gardening or any kind of agriculture work, you were a green thumb,
Yes.
So it was a nickname that I gave myself and my squad, that we were all like, green thumb, or green thumbs and stuff like that. So that's sort of what gave me the idea for the song. And yeah,
The
that's
song
the
from the
story.
late 90s by Cypress Hill, which is a great song. But when does it go from being a hobby to an actual career where there's emails and domains and you have to be at trade shows? Because it's quite a jump from going, we're going to do this, to actually people's livelihoods depend on it.
Well, it took quite a few years, because I mean, we've been doing music and stuff like that, and being that it wasn't federally legal anywhere, we just
Yeah.
sort of like tiptoed through it and stuff like that. But the transition, it wasn't easy, but it wasn't so hard. I mean, we had a head start in terms of being activists and advocates for cannabis, and it didn't hurt that we had music that celebrated cannabis or educated people about it. And Dr. Greenthumb was one of those songs. So when I decided on myself as an individual going into different things aside from music, cannabis was one of them, and I thought it would be
Yeah.
an easy transition, just because we had a head start in terms of marketing and promoting and having a name that people recognize, and that people know that to a degree, our camp has the stamp. If we say, hey, this cannabis right here is the business, usually people believe us, and
Yeah.
that's because we come from the culture. We're not just consumers, we're actually cultivators. We've been in it a long time. So I think people that know that when we say, hey, this stuff over here, whether it's ours or some other brand, people know us to be the ones that'll put you on to the right path, right?
Sure.
So when it related to putting our own products into stores, or creating our own retail store, we knew people would come and it would be impactful. So it was easy in that way. Get just sort of getting the message out and saying, hey, we're in this now, and come see what we're doing. And people have done that. They've reacted to the things that we do. We throw events, pop-ups, flavor drops at our stores. People show up for it. But the other side of it, the struggle is the inconsistencies in terms of, if you're a multi-state operator, different regulations
Yeah.
that you got to meet, the different requirements. They're all different. There's no one guideline, and until you get federal legalization, there will not be one guideline. It's not like, we all that are looking to put a brand out, like my Dr. Greenthumb, that's mostly for retail, and we've been putting in products under that moniker as of late. But our brand for cannabis products was Insane. And let's just say I want to have Insane here in California. I want to have it in Nevada, I want to have it in Colorado, I want to have it in Florida. Now, 3 of those states may have similar guidelines, but one has something completely different. So if I want to put my packaging out to look one way with a specific design on the packaging, I can do it in maybe 3 of these states, but in Florida,
Right.
I can't. And that is the challenge, you know. If you're just staying in one region, then it's fairly, you know, simple. Still, you got to jump through the hoops and deal with the politics and the crazy taxation of it here in California that is maybe the highest than in other places. But you know, if you're making a run in one place and you're not looking to expand, it's not as complicated, but complicated enough. It's not easy, but you know, we had passion for it from day one, for wanting to see it legal,
Hmm.
and then knowing the potential that it had in it outside of just consumption. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
those were the 2 things that pushed us forward. And you know, fortunately, we got the opportunity to operate in the cannabis industry, and you know, being known for being one of the big you know, flag raisers of cannabis and activists and whatnot. So it was an easy transition, but I mean, you know, it has its challenges.
It's funny the journey that you just described. And I think funny is the word because one of the ways that millions upon millions of people learned about Cypress Hill was the Simpsons appearance. And it was
Right.
a joke at your expense that you guys got the Philharmonic high. So in other words, at a certain point, it went from being a punchline that Cypress Hill smoked weed to a business and embracing it. You stopped having to hide the fact that you were doing or skirt around the subject. Around when did you start to notice that it was okay that you had those ties publicly?
Well, you know, as you know, it was very taboo for a very long time. Jazz artists have been talking about cannabis, you
Yeah.
know, before I think most of us, of jazz and reggae, I would think. But you know, there was always some resistance for us, even though people were intrigued by the fact that we did not hide it, and we were very upfront about it and saying, this is us and we don't give a fuck what you think about it. Um, but as we get out there and we start doing different things, and the platform is slightly bigger than the previous ones before us waving the flag, you know, we had a unique situation because we were, you know, gathering momentum with our music and not necessarily the cannabis thing. That added an appeal to us that not many in hip hop had at that point. You know, the music was dope, and we had different messagings aside, different messages aside from the street aspect of it, right? And so we're pulling all these different people in, and they're hearing our cannabis, you know, celebration messages, and now it's bringing down the guard of some who maybe previously judged it, didn't know much about it, and then we hit them with the Black Sunday album, which, you know, a lot of the in terms of the artwork, there was the artwork, but on top of the artwork, we had the facts that we had gotten from Emperor Wears No Clothes, from Jack Herrera's book, who was our mentor
Hmm.
in the cannabis culture. So the things that he bestowed onto us, you know, we were like putting it out to the masses. So, you know, it's by Black Sunday we start seeing people be more accepting of cannabis. It was still taboo. We were still getting cut from opportunities because of our, you know, our activism in cannabis. But we noticed, in spite of like maybe like not getting the opportunities other hip hop acts were getting, that sold less records, that had less impact than us, we were being embraced by a whole different culture of people, and more people came to the party. And it didn't matter that we lost those, you know, opportunities. I mean, hell, we didn't, half the time we didn't even know we had them until they tell us, well, we considered Cypress Hill for X, Y, and Z, but because of their stance on cannabis and their celebration of it, we can't necessarily use them. So it went from that to other rappers now celebrating it with us, and teaching people about it with us, and spreading, you know, the the knowledge and the celebration of it like wildfire.
Right.
And as we get into now decriminalization in some places, and like the first legislation here in California, you start seeing people that didn't necessarily get down with cannabis before. Now they're, even though they might not be consuming, they're advocating for it because they're doing their own diligence and finding out information about cannabis that wasn't previously available to them. So now they realize cannabis ain't so bad and it could actually help people.
Yeah.
Not just economically, not just to get them high, but also in the medical aspect of it. There's plenty of people using it for treatment now, as you see. So as you saw those people that weren't necessarily cannabis users start jumping on our side, that's when we noticed the switch, and now cannabis is okay. It's not demonized as much. I mean, they still got to do a lot of things to change the perception of cannabis to some folks that are just like, out of touch.
Yeah.
Because there are those still in the dark ages with it, but like most people now embrace it, whether they, smoke it heavily, whether they're a mild smoker or they just touch it now and then, or the people that are like curious about it and want to try it and they know, oh, this is not going to have me addicted like cocaine, heroin, or methamphetamine, or any of those serious drugs, because this is not a drug, it's a medicine.
Right. Well, I have one more topic and then a stupid question, and then you're free for me. Now,
All right.
the stupid question is going to wait till the end. The important topic here, if I can keep the compliments going, is you were 30 years ago part of a soundtrack that I think changed the world, that helped me meet my wife, and that is the Judgment Night soundtrack.
Ah, yes.
You were the only artist on there twice on that
Yes.
soundtrack as well. Now, looking back 30 years, no one's talking about the movie. The soundtrack keeps getting reissues and re-releases, and there's articles about it. Now, looking back, are you very proud of your rock rap contributions? Because, of course, you had a single just a few years later that was even bigger than everything on there. But at the same time, it does seem like the Judgment Night soundtrack was a rush job of sorts.
I don't know if it was a rush job, but it was an idea that I think DJ Muggs and Everlast maybe came up with. I think it was DJ Muggs, though, along with our manager at the time, Happy Walters, who actually was the supervisor
Right.
of the soundtrack. And we were coveted by by Happy at the time, so he was, like, hey, would you be interested in doing two songs, one with Pearl Jam and one with Sonic Youth? Yeah. And we're like, yeah, sure, whatever. He goes, you guys are the only ones doing this. I'm like, well, that's fine. Hey, we don't mind spearheading anything. We were just those guys always out of the box. We were like, there's a challenge musically, whatever, we're here for it, right? So believe we did the studio session with Sonic Youth. Like, they were in studio with Muggs and playing, and then Muggs chopped the stuff up and put it into what his vision of it was, and then I came and laced it while we were all there. It was a pretty dope session. I did not anticipate being in the studio with Sonic Youth, because I love them, and to have a chance to work with them at the time, it was awesome. And they killed it. It's one of the things it's one of the songs I want to put in our set list for this year, because it's a get high song and we never play it.
Right.
And I just think it's so dope that and it's with Sonic Youth, so how could we not want to play it? So it's something that we want to add into our set list. And then to be asked by Pearl Jam, who we were big fans of, because we had played not with them, but in the same festival setting in Lollapalooza. While they were on the headline stage, we were on the smaller stage, and every night we got a chance to see them rock. And then we met them, and they were cool as hell. And I guess maybe they came and saw us play the small stage, and they asked us to play their what's it called, something in the park in Seattle. It's their own festival that they were throwing in the 90s. and they asked us to do it, and it was just a dope situation that became a really cool friendship with Stone and Jeff, and you know, keeping in contact always. So when the idea came up, Pearl Jam was a natural fit for us. So, you know, that we had to, you know, wait for the session reels to come to us and then put our thing on it and then send it back. And we've only ever played it once. We played it on Live and Loud MTV with we were playing with Nirvana. Pearl Jam was supposed to play, but Eddie Vedder didn't show up. So Pearl Jam didn't play, and they stuck us in the co-headline spot, which was awesome. We got to open for or support Nirvana. And we got to play that song with Pearl Jam because everybody else from the band was still there because they had been waiting on Eddie all night. But it was a special soundtrack. A lot of people say that the soundtrack was better than the goddamn movie.
Yes.
So that was awesome to be a part of it and to have two songs, which is a distinction no one else had there. But there was some really great music on there, you know. Everybody did their thing with their respective matchups and stuff like that. I think if Muggs had a chance to stay with the Pearl Jam music and chop it up in his way, it would have been crazy because Muggs's ideas and visions for that type of thing is awesome. But he didn't get to touch that one. So that was the only regrettable thing. But Pearl Jam did an amazing job on producing it themselves. And that's another one we might want to add to the set list when we bring back the live band, which we're planning to do this year.
So keep seeing Cypress Hill live and good things will happen. And the stupid last question here, due to your government name, this question comes. Are there any photos of you, this is a two-parter, of you and Josh Freese together? And if so, have you gone to PF Chang's together?
There are photos with Josh Freese and myself. We have not been to PF Chang's. I'm waiting for him to do the 23andMe joint to see if we're cousins, because I think we're cousins. Like my Freese family, a lot of them in Arizona, and I believe he has family in Arizona, I think. So we're waiting to see.
So if that happens, then that means you're getting free Green Day tickets for life because of Jason. Because
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And then we will go to PF Chang's, a cousin celebration. He's one of the baddest drummers out there, man. Love him, man. He's a really cool dude. One of the nicest guys I've met in this industry.
Without a doubt, everyone says that. But the bottom line is thank you for your decades of great contributions to medicine, music, acting. Yeah, I know about the Rugrats role. And looking forward to what's to come in the many, many years. Okay, Doc?
Right on, man. Thanks a lot, man. And for anybody that want to catch me while I'm not on tour, I host my show, the Dr. Greenthumb Show, live on YouTube Monday through Friday. Look it up. It's random and hilarious.
Paltrocast.